Now, if it weren't for the release of a certain very heavily pay-to-win mobile game shaking pretty much every cent out of the mobile community, Blizzard would have had an absolutely catastrophic quarter, with a drop in revenue of almost 30% since this same time last year, even with the inclusion of Diablo Immortal. Although admittedly, with the first month's revenue of Diablo Immortal, which bodes incredibly poorly for the future of every single title that Blizzard is in charge of, including, most importantly to me at least, World of Warcraft. Before we go any further, I just want to take a moment here to thank all of the absolute chads and chadettes that support this channel via Patreon. You're all freaking legends. Seriously, each and every single one of you. I would offer to give each of you a kiss, but I suffer from severe intimacy issues. Additionally, if you want to stay up to date with all the latest MMO gacha and gaming news, take a second here to follow MRSSTIX and I over on Twitter. We tweet daily. Now, before we go any further, I just want to take a second here to note that I'm starting up another channel simply titled STIX Reacts. I'll have videos just like this up on it that aren't necessarily concerning new games or updates. There are no videos on the channel yet, but I do hope that some of you are interested enough to come on over and join me there. I'll be posting the first video of many there sometime later this week. Now, this article in specific is from Massively OP. They cover Blizzard's financials every single quarter. This one in specific is titled Activision Blizzard Quarter 2 2022 More Revenue Dips for WoW, ABK, and Blizzard in spite of Diablo Immortal. Welcome back to our regular coverage of Activision Blizzard's quarterly financials. As of this afternoon, we have the second quarter results comprising April, May, and June 2022. Let's break it down first with ABK and then with Blizzard itself. Activision Blizzard on the whole brought in $1.64 billion in revenue for this quarter, which amounts to yet another large drop, 29% in specific, compared to the second quarter of 2021. 29% drop in revenue. Even after Diablo Immortal was released, even after they have announced Dragonflight. ABK also reported another drop in MAUs, down from 372 million last quarter to 361 million now. You know it's bad when Bobby Kotick's blurb dodges left and right, taking up its acquisitions, AI headcount, future releases, and investor profits. The company does acknowledge the looming recession, promising to deliver on its pipeline later in the year. Based on the current pipeline, total segment operating income is expected to increase modestly in the third quarter versus the second quarter, and to return to year-over-year growth in the fourth quarter. Now, if we're comparing just 2021 alone, it looks as though the first quarter had 2.28 billion, the second quarter had an increase to 2.3 billion, the third quarter had a dip to 2.07 billion, and the fourth quarter had an increase up to 2.16 billion. In 2021, the second quarter was the highest earning quarter of the entire year. It only continued to decline after that, and given the second quarter right now is at 1.64 billion. If the trend continues, we're going to see the third and fourth quarter likely dip below the second quarter as well. But then at the same time, you have to factor in all of the money that Diablo Immortal has made, along with the pre-registrations and the pre-purchases for Dragonflight, which are no doubt going to skyrocket their overall earnings moving into the fourth quarter of the year. As for Blizzard itself, we might have expected a massive turnaround for the division this quarter thanks to the reveal of World of Warcraft's Dragonflight expansion, the reveal of WoW Classic's Wrath of the Lich King expansion, Overwatch 2's beta, and of early access planned for this fall, a launch window planned for Diablo 4, and of course the launch of Diablo Immortal, which as third-party analytics already suggests, made a significant sum of money. Wow. That is probably the most shocking thing I have ever heard. A mobile game making an absolute fortune from whales that have nothing better to spend their money on. Though last week's Chinese launch won't be... Oh, so Diablo Immortal finally launched within China. For those of you that actually weren't aware, Diablo Immortal was banned in China initially because the Chinese Weibo account for the game mocked the president of China, referring to him as Winnie the Pooh. And this guy has absolutely no sense of humor, so he immediately lashed out banned the game, banned the social media accounts, and showed the world that he is the joke that everyone thought he was. Last quarter, the company lost another 2 million players in spite of the release of Eternity's End in WoW, calculating to a 42% decrease in its player base in 4 years. And its revenues for the quarter and year as a whole were in deep decline, with a plummet of 43% quarter after quarter. That is massive. However, in quarter 2, Blizzard revenue was down quarter over quarter again, though up compared to last quarter, which was an absolute disaster as we noted. The studio brought in $401 million in quarter 2 2022 compared to $433 million in quarter 2 2021, about a 7.4% decline. Blizzard's second quarter segment revenue and operating income were lower year after year, but higher versus the first quarter, the report admits. World of Warcraft net bookings declined versus a year ago quarter that included the launch of Burning Crusade Classic, offsetting year-over-year growth for Hearthstone, and the contribution from the June launch of Diablo Immortal. It's worth rereading that sentence again to understand the true scale of Immortal versus WoW Classic, though it's also worth remembering that only the first month of Immortal is included in the second quarter, and that's understandable. And then they go on to list what is no doubt in the pipeline for the remainder of the year. The June launch of Diablo Immortal, a deep and authentic Diablo experience designed for the mobile platform, marked the start of a rollout of substantial content across Blizzard's key franchises. Diablo Immortal received high player rate. Hold on. Wait. This high rating. Yeah, the Diablo Immortal, yeah, it received incredibly positive ratings. Received high player ratings on mobile app stores around the world. Oh, app stores. Yep, that is a very high rating right there, just slightly above average. And reached the top of the game download charts in more than 100 countries and regions following its launch. Over half of the game's player accounts to date are new to Blizzard. The game ranked in the top 10 grossing games in the US app stores for the month of June. Diablo 4, the next generation installment in the genre-defining series, is planned for launch on PC and console in 2023. The title will support cross-play and cross-progression across platforms and is designed to be the foundation for an engaging live service, providing ongoing storytelling and new content for many years to come. In the Warcraft franchise, Blizzard plans to deliver an unprecedented level of WoW content in the coming months, with Wrath of the Lich King Classic launching on September 26th, and World of Warcraft Dragonflight, the innovative next expansion for the modern game, slated for release later in this year. Blizzard is committed to growing its development resources to meet and exceed its community expectations, and at the end of the second quarter significantly bolstered its World of Warcraft team through the acquisition of Boston-based studio Proletariat. During the second quarter, Blizzard unveiled Warcraft Arclight Rumble. That is that mobile game, right? An action-packed mobile game. Gives both new and existing fans an entirely different way to experience the Warcraft universe through microtransactions. Public testing of the game is underway in select regions. Overwatch 2 is planned to launch in early access on PC and console on October 4th, with a free-to-play live service model designed to provide frequent and substantial seasonal updates. This launch kicks off the next chapter for the acclaimed team-based action game. Blizzard's second quarter segment revenue and operating income were lower year over year, but higher versus the first quarter. World of Warcraft net bookings declined versus a year ago quarter that included the launch of Burning Crusade Classic, offsetting year-over-year growth for Hearthstone and the contribution from the June launch of Diablo Immortal. Where the good news starts for Blizzard is in monthly active players. Blizzard MAUs are positive for the first time since, well, almost since Blizzard began reporting MAUs. Apparently it attracted 27 million MAUs, a net increase of 5 million since last quarter. That brings the company back in line with its figures from early 2021, though of course it's still down 29% since it switched to this system in 2018. Blizzard did say at one point that it had counted 10 million players for Diablo Immortal, and in this release, it suggests half of those were new to the Blizzard ecosystem, which would account for the 5 million increase rather handily. And that influx of players is warranted. This is a Diablo game first and foremost. Second, it's a mobile game. Diablo and Immortal, those two terms together are going to attract a very large percentage of A, players, B, new players. As always, we note here that Blizzard intentionally reports MAUs this way to obfuscate which games are gaining and losing players. World of Warcraft as an example. And traditionally notes whenever a game had increased in MAUs. It hasn't done that for many games for the last few quarters because they don't want to let people know World of Warcraft's population, its player base numbers are down to horrendous levels, very concerning, alarming levels. Now, it hasn't done that for many games for the last few quarters, Diablo Immortal being the obvious exception now, which has led us to assume the other games continue their decline. Which makes sense given Diablo Immortal has bolstered its population numbers back up to what they once were, but at the same time, it brought in 10 million new players alone, which means their other games have declined by a cumulative total of 10 million players over the last couple years. Now, evidently World of Warcraft, Overwatch, StarCraft, Hearthstone, all of the Blizzard properties are very evidently doing poorly right now. The release of Diablo Immortal has helped bolster Blizzard's numbers in the short term, but people have already left that game in droves. Diablo 4 is on the horizon. Sure, Dragonflight is coming, Wrath of the Lich King Classic is coming, Overwatch 2 is coming. These are all going to preoccupy players in the short term, but those are more of a band-aid fix than anything. I'm genuinely curious to see what happens with WoW, Overwatch, Diablo, all games that I played extensively over the last several years to over a decade with regards to WoW. This is not looking very good for Blizzard, but at the same time, Blizzard was just purchased. Activision itself was purchased by Microsoft. So this might be a positive, who knows? Again, if you haven't already, go ahead, subscribe to my new STIX Reacts channel. Hopefully I see you guys there.